Thank you very much for the very generous introduction. Thank you so much to Class Innovation for having us. And of course, I'm very honored to moderate this panel with, of course, the very seasoned innovators from the Philippines. And I would like to welcome everyone for coming, and thank you so much for having us. So, of course, coming from the startup ecosystem of innovation from the Philippines, this disaster and readiness is another portion of the very uh, dynamic ecosystem of innovation from the Philippines. And we are very, very happy that innovation are coming out from this sector, and a lot of people from the community are making efforts to progress this sector. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome my panel members. No, so would you like to tell something about our audience first, about yourself, and why are you innovating? So let's start with Sir Paul.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Okay. Ateneo Innovation Center is into prepositioning of assets like clean water, uh, resilient communication, health devices, and um, sensor networks for aquaculture. Okay. These technologies are deeply rooted into uh, research, and this research are being used to uh, to teach communities on how to be prepared, more prepared before, during, or after disaster.
Thank you, Sir Paul. So very Ateneo. That's the signature of Ateneo, no? Now let's go with Miss Janelle. So Miss Janelle, how did you start in innovating, and
All right.
what motivated you?
Okay. So a quick background about myself. I'm a registered nurse by profession. However, I grew up in the entrepreneurial scene. So we have a business in Baguio City. It's a third generation family business. So it's already existing for 60 years. So it's a restaurant. So or other real estate development also. What we do there, we try to maximize profit and minimize the costs. So we do try to invest on innovative technologies as well. So for example, for food wastage, we try to minimize the amount of rice that has been cooked so that it would be delivered to the people. So we sometimes have to serve around 600 plates a day of rice. So that's around 50 or 100 kilos. And imagine the food wastage from there. Cooking it alone, there'd be about 2 kilos for 50, 50 cups of rice. So that imagine a lot of rice being wasted there. So from there, my family had been trying to incorporate the entrepreneurial mindset to me. And with regards to disaster preparedness and innovation, it was a component in our nursing. And also, I've been into a lot of research, also in-depth research during my high school until college years.
Yes, truly. Thank you, Ms. Janelle. Truly, that your immediate family and the environment around you forces you to innovate and forces you to adapt with what's happening. Now, I'm very interested, Ms. Dang, with the fish and processed foods that you have. So, please share about.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Dang, or most of the time they associate my name as Danggit because that's one of the products that we're selling in the market as of this moment.
I love
So,
that.
so there, we started during Typhoon Yolanda rehabilitation effort in Bantayan Island. Bantayan Island is one of the most affected area during that time and wasn't really exposed to media so much. So We were fortunate because by then we were working with Gawad Kalinga, and we were exposed to the rehabilitation efforts. Specifically, one of my partner was exposed and spearhead the project of Gawad Kalinga back then. It's called Balangay. It's the distribution of boats in several fishing communities in Bantayan Island. And that was the time that after the after the program, we were still in communication with the fisher folk there. And there, one of the things that they mentioned is they needed a livelihood program for them to fully recover from the typhoon. So that really started, that sparked the establishment of our social enterprise. And since we are all social development workers, we're so hardcore in, oh, we wanted to help the poor, but we didn't thought it's very, setting up social entrepreneurship is very different from the traditional community development work. And with that, personally, I've committed to journey with the small fishing communities in the Philippines because I love seafood a lot. There was this time that I've been assigned to different islands all over the Philippines, and I saw the situation of these small fishing communities. I thought all of these things are very normal. Like they go to different places carrying their catch. I thought it was normal, but soon when we immerse ourselves with their lives, that was the only time I realized that they don't have choice. That's why they had to do these things. And I remember going to Boracay, spending like 800 pesos for a single crab, while I'm eating crab for free every day of my life, spending time with these small fishing communities. I think I realized there must be something really wrong with what's happening in my country. And I think this fishing, feeding me with free seafood in my entire life, I think I owe them something. And I had to do something about this situation because I wanted the delicious seafood that I'm comfortably eating in my table would be experienced by the next generation and my family in the future as well. So that's
Thank you very much, Miss Dang. So innovation really comes from hashtag hugot. You should have a hugot in your life so that you can innovate. Well, with that given environment, maybe I'll ask again, Miss Dang, how did you initiate change or innovation? How did you encourage the community, the people who, your stakeholders of such community?
Well, with Balangay's Best, what we did is really immerse ourselves to different part of the value chain. Since Bantayan Island is really famous with dried seafood, which is very famous in Cebu, we tried to look at on something that is already there, the assets, this untapped assets that is already existing in the community. And of course, we can compete with like major commercial businesses, seafood company, which are really the major players in our country. So what we think of is why don't we try exploring and learning first before we implement something? We have to really understand the entire process. So that's why what we did is we tried to put everything together. Like we collaborate. It's our fifth year actually this year, the social enterprise, and so far it's really I think we almost closed, but because there's a lot of people who really believe and support us and guided us along the way, like every part of the value chain, for example, when we started, we were just talking about social and economic impact. But later on, we figured out we had to deal with the illegal and overfishing in the Philippines. And that was the time that we were telling na another hugot that we have is, I think there's a missing puzzle in the entire picture that we are doing. And fortunately, we met another partner, which is Rare Philippines. So it's more of like instilling collaboration because we know that we have limitation as social entrepreneurs. Especially we're not yet really fully business expert. So that's why we need to collaborate with different people because we know our limitation and we accept our limitation. And when we started the company, I wanted to share with you that three of the co-founders are fisher folks. So our company is made of really, that's why the company is called Fishers and Changemakers, because it's really real that three Fisher folks are now Fisher entrepreneurs, and we're developing more all over the Philippines. And what we wanted to do is, they are our partners in the process. So their voice is very important in every process that we are doing in our social enterprise.
I love that. So even though we are on the top three of the most riskiest country in the world, what we have to do in order to innovate is to look at what the blessings we have, or what are the available resources that we have to use as a basis of our innovation. How about you, Miss Janelle? Like coming from Benguet, and I love the weather there, and given these challenges, how did you start it? How did you convince the community? Coming from your family, how did you disrupt the norm already?
Actually, we just coming from a pain point, because I myself, I have relatives who have passed away because of the landslide in 2009, and they were a mom and her son. They passed away because of the landslide there. I think I wanted to do something to educate people because at that time my closest cousin, um, they were supposed to get away from the landslide area already, but it took them about 5 minutes. Then came the disaster. So at that time, we felt like if we could have just prevented such thing from occurring, maybe we we don't have to end up with that tragedy. And so I wanted people to. I've experienced the pain. It was very painful for us dealing with such thing and event, and so I wanted people to not experience it any longer. And through awareness and through our innovation or the process that we're doing, we feel like we can prevent it from happening and we can prevent the losses already. So if you're becoming prepared, you know that your shelter is sturdy enough. It won't happen to you anymore. Or if you know that these kind of resources are actually for you to use or for you to be able to keep in contact with them, so you know to reach the right people, you don't have to experience the pain already.
Truly, that's compassion through readiness. We can prepare, and we know that it's coming, and we can do something about it. Thank you, Ms. Janelle. Sir Paul, coming from Ateneo, so what's the initiative, and how do you disrupt this ecosystem?
Okay. Well, probably I would like to share about my experience during the Tacloban, Yolanda, that ravaged the whole, most of our countrymen. Um, when we were in one of the, I think it's Javier Leyte. Okay, uh, we saw the dead bodies on the streets, and even the smell of the air is really that stinks. Okay, so that experience that taught us to, can I do something about it? What was what is it in my grasp that I can do? Who are the people that I know that can help on this kind of situation? So when I just got my master's in Ateneo, doing, I got this machine going, getting water from air, okay, and I saw in the news about the situation. So you cannot really just lie around and do nothing if you have something that can address the community. So the system that we got is a rainwater harvesting system that uh, that turns into potable water using series of filters, solar power. And when we deploy this, every time that we deploy, the we learn from it. For example, we're expecting, oh, we need some sort of an elevated structure to house the water so that gravity will push water through the filters. Then when we got there are no elevated structure. Everything's flattened. So probably around 5 kilometers away, we saw the DOST still standing, so we put the clean water system there. So my point is, there should be some sort of rooted motivation in order for an individual or group of people to innovate, okay, on existing resources and don't stop because you won't get it right on the first try. So that's why we were initially talking with about having failures. Our motto in the innovation is we need to fail fast in order to learn fast so we can attain success right away.
Thank you very much, Sir Paul. Truly, it's a guilt for scientists, for engineers, that if you see something and you don't deploy what you have, there's a deep guilt inside every innovator. And I think with the Yolanda experience as well, the same thing. I am with a religious group also who sent 2 containers of food supplies during Yolanda. We encourage everybody, all of the men members, load up the container vans with this 1 box of good for 30 days food. And we borrowed trucks, we borrowed people to bring the truckload of food for Yolanda victims. And now, let's encourage them. Coming from that experience, let's encourage our innovators not to be afraid of failure, but instead fail fast, learn, build, and measure. Coming from that, Ms. Dang, can you share an experience of coping up with failure when you first tried the fishes? What was the experience?
I think one of our funniest failure. Of course, we're not business-minded people. We're not really expert in business. I remember with the dried seafood, because in the Philippines, most of the dried seafood are often seen in the marketplace, like wet market. It's very cheap. It's not properly packed, but it tastes good. But of course, it stinks so bad, so it's hard to bring it every parts of the world or every part of the Philippines. So initially, what we tried to do is, why don't we come up with a very beautiful packaging? So we started with that, and we had a very catchy tagline and name for our products. Like the tagline is "It's worth drying for." Then the name of our products is Darling Danggit, Papa Pusit, Mami Diles, Beshi, Bangsi, so things like that. So we wanted to really share with everybody that hearing when you're dealing with seafood, it's not baduy or it's not corny. It's very relatable because it's very Filipino. It's a staple food in the country. So initially, we did distributing our products in the major markets like Island Souvenir, Eco Store, all of the premium products, specialty store, until we didn't realize that we were wrong in costing. So we were like, oh, we have a lot of order. Like all of our stocks are really sold out. But apparently, why are we losing our money? So all of us were, initially for the first 2 years, we didn't realize that because we have our full-time jobs, so we're doing it sort of like a project. But later on, when me and my partner decided, let's resign and let's focus on this because it's really a serious business. Because I remember when she arrived here in Manila, brought all the first initial products that we produced for the business. And she was telling me, by the way, Dang, we had to sell this product because we're helping 25 families. And I was like telling her, I didn't really plan to get married early, but right now you're giving me an accountability to feed 25 families. Are you serious with this? And it's sort of like, oh my God, that was the only time I realized what we're doing is pretty serious. Because we had to really work hard to be able to really help these 25 families. And it's growing, by the way. It's not only 25. So when we realized that there was a wrong in costing that we had to improve because like us, like the fisher folk, we don't value ourselves. We don't pay ourselves as part of the company. Although we're working very hard, we subsidize everything. And that was the point in our life that we were telling to ourselves, would we close? Or would we not, would we just declare we're bankrupt or not? Fortunately, we didn't close because we're still here. And part of the learning was, it's very right. Making mistakes in the process, it's not really bad. It's how we learn. It's how we improve the impact and the innovation that we're trying to create in the communities that we are dealing with. That's why before, when we felt very low whenever we made mistakes, right now we celebrate whenever we have mistakes because that marks that we improve something, that we push something, we push ourselves to to change something that is very valuable in the process that we are doing in the fishing industry. And I believe with that, I think we weren't able to lose like supporters all along. We were able to gain more because we've been honest to everybody that this is the situation. Even when they wanted to carry the product, because what happened was we didn't really market so much because it became a word of mouth. Like a competitor of our distributor store learned about us, so they would carry about us. So it became a healthy competition by everybody helping us together. So I think that was one of the major learnings that we had, and that helped us to push forward and further because all of the learnings for the past 5 years help us shape the future of the social enterprise that we have right now.
Thank you, Ms. Dang. Can I share you a small secret? I love dried fish. Coming from the export community, we export to 45 countries worldwide, and there are 23 million Filipinos abroad who are consuming this dried food. And the secret is that we put the dried fish inside at the end of the container and then put some noodles so the noodles will absorb the stinky smell of the fish. So that when the port authorities open the container, not so much stink. Good secret? We'll keep that secret? Thank you.
But ours don't stink.
Wow,
I'll
so that's the
challenge you.
innovation.
That it doesn't stink, seriously.
Let's talk later. I'll introduce you to some of the consolidators from the export community. Well, sorry, I'm going business now. Ms. Janelle, share to us, how did you cope up with failures?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about our journey in this to class innovation labs. In our journey of 8 or more months, we are registered nurses. 3 of us are registered nurses, and 1 was an environmental scientist. We weren't game designers or game developers, and we just had the guts. So we just did our first prototype. We call it the ugly prototype. So we wanted to showcase the ugly prototype together with the community of Pugis La Trinidad Benguet and to some of our external community members, which are composed of game board geeks. So they have already played a lot of board games throughout their lives. And it feels so humbling because our prototype was actually made out of cardboard and everything. We just presented it to them. We didn't know about the process of game development. So we just shoved it in their faces. Then they tried to play it. There were a lot of negative feedbacks. Actually, we were very much happy that we were able to get a lot of negative feedback instead of the positive, because that's where we know that, okay, these are some things that are not valid, and we want to improve on those points. And in the process of the 8 months, we had a deadline. It's like a ticking time bomb. We had to think fast on how are we going to approach the process. But then through our concept of making the community the center of everything, so we had to integrate and listen to each and every feedback that they had. It was hard because you have to have your non-negotiables as well. And at the same time, we felt like through the third, so we had three prototypes. We believe that the third prototype is the one that worked because we were able to listen, we were able to see that when you try to go to the community and try to bring a very complicated board game, they won't really try to understand it. It's just the gist, and we wanted to show through that kind of interaction, they'd be able to learn more, and at the same time, there are intangibles like they can try to socialize or interact with their fellow youths, which some of the elders would say that, oh, they're not really trying to communicate with each other because of technology already. So we wanted to bring that in their community. And I think that through that process of failing, and then repeating it again, we were able to really try to polish and improve our output.
Okay, so innovators, take heart. When they give feedback, it's okay. Sometimes it hurts. But you should move forward. Everybody fails. When you fall down on the mud, don't roll on the mud. Get up and move forward. Okay, moving forward, so Sir Paul, from those failures, no, how can we encourage them to like move forward every now and then, and like what's the process that we should be doing and getting the attitude of learning and measuring what we have built?
Probably one of the things that an innovator or startup should always be aware of the things that are new. So if he sees some innovations here or there, you clutch them together, you can probably have a new product or a new service. And that's how innovation works. We need to see or look for partners that we can leverage from, so that, uh, of course, everyone knows now we cannot do everything. So we need to look for the right partners. We need to strategize. How can we do this? How can we be successful in the shortest possible time? And these things takes time. Okay, so we need to understand deeply the problem. We need to communicate them with the local people because they themselves are the experts on their problem. Okay, it's not ours. So when we go to a community, usually what we do is we just listen and absorb, because definitely or most of the time we don't have an answer on their problems. But somehow, you'll meet someone, oh, this guy, we can use this guy, we can partner with this guy, we can collaborate with them and make a solution. So that's why in one of the successful story of Ateneo Innovation Center, we were able to fabricate a phototherapy light for jaundice treatment. So this after 2 years of clinical trial in hospital in Makati, it was able to cure 74 infants. I've never heard of a thesis or a study that were able to cure infants. So now we are in the process of spinning off a company that will actually, we are giving it away, the design, because we know when I go to our Marikina, we see nanays lining up just to have a phototherapy light session. One unit costs about 150,000. But in the right wavelength and strength of lights, okay, it will cure jaundice in infants. So, yeah.
Sir Paul, that's very meaty. Collaborate and validate. Innovators, can you repeat after me? Sorry, academic, no? Collaborate and validate. And validate. The community knows their problems very well. You should be validating your innovations with them, coordinate with them. So, Sir Paul, coming from that experience, are we going to encourage our innovators to like fall in love with their invention? Because I understand for innovators, our inventions are like our very cute baby. Then when we present them to the community, oh, it's an ugly baby. So how do we encourage that? Or how do we tell them to not fall in love or really fall in love with their innovation?
Yeah, that's why really thanking to Class Innovation Labs and all the supporters here for bringing this up, because this empowers the innovators. We need to support the innovators in order for them to create more, because we don't want to be forever consumer of technologies. We need to create our own. No one will make it. The Filipinos should make it themselves. Our brothers from other countries won't do that for us. They can support us, but we ourselves need to do it for our country. That's why I'm handling a class in grade school, teaching grade 5 and grade 6, exposing them into these typical gadgets, but explaining the basic science behind each gadget, because they are the future. Probably 1-2 decades from now we can see it, but probably because of this, if we can get our act together, okay, with the government, with our fellow innovators, nothing is possible. We just need to put our heads together and collaborate.
We should be collaborating because it takes also a community to build a startup. A good example from UP Enterprise and UPScale is Cropital.com. Cropital.com is a crowdfunding platform for farmers. They lend 100,000 pesos to farmers, but they crowdfund it from 20 people. So exposing every person at a risk of just $100. And now they have grown. We have co-incubated them with Fledge, and then Magic also in Malaysia. We have co-incubated them also with Idea Space. Now they were able to lend already near to $1 million with 100% repayment, so paid back, with 94% on-time payment and 6% delayed payment. But that's a good number, and we would be grateful to collaborate with you. If you need to support your farmers in your particular areas, we would love to connect them to you. So with Janelle, so from those experiences, how did you pivot when community said that we're not into it? So how did you pivot it, or how did you maneuver?
Well, actually, we had to integrate everything. We had to internalize everything, and try to think again. Put yourself in their shoes. What are the things that they need again? You remind yourself again, why am I doing this? Um, what is something that could be of value for the community? And try to work from there again. So what worked, what didn't work, what were the things that could be improved. So we had to brainstorm again, talk and talk. We fought in our team a lot, brainstormed, and just try to maybe try this is a maybe this B solution B would work, or plan C would work. Maybe let's try to integrate them together again, putting them into the center. We will not be lost.
Okay. So we have to adjust, we have to collaborate. And then, lastly, of course, in every innovation, we should be encouraging them to create a sustainability model or a sustainability plan so that we won't become grantpreneurs. But instead, we should be sustainable on our own. Let's start with Ms. Dan.
Um, it's very timely because actually it was only last year we went to Brazil to compete with this biggest competition for social entrepreneurship that we are honored to represent the Philippines and Asia because we're the first one who reached the finals out of the 1,000 applicants. It's called Creating Shared Value Prize. And that was the time that we were really thinking how to really move this further after all the mistakes, all of the things that we experienced, like meeting the wrong people's organization, things like that. We tried almost everything for the past 5 years on checking out how we could really empower this fishing community. And one of the things that we were, I remember during that intense 1 week competition in Brazil, we were really like discussing what would be the next thing because we were able to explore everything. So how can we really help these fishing communities? And I remember what we pitched there in Brazil was um, we decided to share the vision to really to these fishing communities. So finally, we're letting go of the manufacturing side. So we're training conservation enterprises already in different parts of the Philippines, mentoring them, supporting them with everything to run really like a business, like what we do. And at the same time, it's sort of like training them to be our competitors because we believe that if we will be able to empower them to that level, I think we to the point that they don't need us. I think that's the success point that what we are doing in our social enterprise. So we could move forward to the other 900 or so coastal municipalities in the Philippines. And we were so fortunate that um, with the model that we were thinking, would it that be possible? And we were able to test it with this almost 7 coastal municipalities in the Philippines before we pitch it. And so far it was really one of the aha moment for all of us that it's really possible that this fisher folks would be entrepreneurs. And right now we are building more, and with that we are also fortunate to won the competition, and we brought home an ample amount of money to few millions to really build more conservation enterprise. And we were so proud of that to represent these fishing communities. And that's because of our passion and love for these fishing communities. That's why we were able to come up with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that passion, Ms. Dan. So, Ms. Janelle, any parting words for our viewers and our innovators to continuously innovate and work for the community?
I guess if the people here would like to learn more about innovation, we start from the pain points. Having pain points would allow you to innovate further, and you know, this kind of work isn't actually that easy. It's hard work, but then you don't try to fall in love with your product, but you fall in love with your work. You should learn how to fall in love with the work because everything that people will try to say to you or every feedback that you receive would be just a easy breezy something. And again, also we want to empower the people or the youth. So it's our responsibility to scale up because our solution or our output was created together with the community. So it's our sort of it doesn't give them justice if it won't reach or scale up into a larger community. So we want to showcase or highlight what they have done, what we have done, and encourage even more youth to be more creative and to be more empowered through our solution.
Thank you, Ms. Janelle and Sir Paul.
Okay, but I'm dreaming of something like, what if the just one innovator per university around the country? We have around 1,900 plus universities, public and private. If we gather them, okay, a think tank can be formed, solutions can be faster, we can tap these great minds, okay? We can tap all the students, if they are faculties. And if we have this, I think we will be a powerhouse on innovation. We can always dream, but I know it needs a lot of work. I'm hoping for the best for the people, for the country.
Thank you, Sir Paul. So on behalf of the University of the Philippines and the Department of Science and Technology, I would like to promote also our technology business incubators that are nationwide. So our innovators could work with them. We are present from north to south, up to Iligan, up to Davao. We are present also in Samar and Cebu, and up in Baguio and Cagayan. So if you want to move forward with your innovations, please coordinate with us and we can work together and collaborate in progressing your technologies, in bringing them to the market and for inventors. So thank you very much. And again, thank you very much, Ms. Dang, Ms. Janelle, and Sir Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the first panel.